Good day everyone, I'm Gemma L. Rizabal. There's a three topic that assigned to me: polymer memory, 3D password, and artificial passenger. A polymer, known as a PEDOT, is an unusual plastic since it conducts electricity at low voltage, which make this polymer suitable for anti-static coating in various industrial processes. Later on, it was found that at high pulse of current changes into a non-conductor state. The PEDOT-based memory was utilized to store the computerized data as 0 and as 1. By stacking layers of memory, a cubic centimeter gadget could hold as much as a gigabyte and be sufficiently models to rival CDs and DVD. Polymer memory. The new memory innovation that utilizes conductive polymer rather than silicon-based construction to store the data. The polymer are highly adaptable, organic materials comprising of long chains of single molecules. This memory does not use transistor to store information. Instead, bits are written when a strong current passes through a polymer fuse, causing it to blow and change its conductivity. Sa panahon ngayon, napaka-convenient ni polymer memory, no? Dahil napaka-easy na nitong gamitin and easily developed as the material required is easily available. At ang process ng manufacturing nito ay napaka-simple lang. Hindi mo rin kailangan ng malaking investment. Next slide is pictures of polymer memory. Data is stored by changing the polarization of the polymer between metal lines. 0 transistor per bits of storage. Memory is non-volatile. Microseconds initial reads. And write speed faster than nano and nor flash. Simple processing, easy to integrate with other CMOs. No cell standby power or refresh required. And lastly, operational temperature between -40 and 110 degrees. Those features of polymer memory are very catchy and convenient to everyone. How does the polymer memory works? Well, polymer memory stores information entirely different manner than silicon device. Well, rather than encoding zeros and 01 is the amount of changes or charge stored in a cell. In polymer, they can store data based on the polymer electrical resistance. And making digital memory means finding a way to represent the ones and 01s of computer logic and making sure that information remains stable. Next slide is the advantages of polymer memory. First, polymer memory is fast. In lab-built device with a 1 GB storage capacity have yield, read, and write cycle times that are 10 times faster than compact flash, which are typically 10 or MBs read. Memory is non-volatile. The third one is fast and read and write speed. Fourth, it requires far fewer transistors, typically only 0.5 million for 1 GB of storage compared to silicons of 1.5 or 6 billion. And it can be stacked vertically in a product. Like yielding 3D space usage, silicon chips can only be set aside by each other. And it very low cost, with high capacity per dollar, and low power consumption, and easily to manufacture. Use inkjet printers to spray liquid polymer circuits onto a surface. Limitation of polymer memory. Turning polymer memory into a commercial product is not easy process. Unlike the memory technology, compete not only on storage capacity but on speed, energy consumption, and reliability. The difficulty is in meeting all the requirements of current silicon memory chips. It can read many times but can write only one time. And lastly, until new memory materials can contend with the high performance of silicon, there's notes they are probably going to be constrained to niche application. One likely use is disposable electronic, where cost rather than performance is the deciding factor. Moreover, researchers at Lucent Technologies Bell Laboratories are working on polymer memory devices for use in identification tags. The polymer memory made at Bell's lab is still relatively slow by silicon standard, and anticipated capacity is only on the order of kilobyte. 3D password. A 3D password is a multi-factor authentication scheme that combines recognition, recall, token, and biometrics in one authentication system. The 3D password presents a virtual environment containing various virtual objects. Then, the user walks through the environment and interact with the object. In virtual object can be any object we encounter in real life. First, a computer with which a user can type. Second, a fingerprint reader that requires the user fingerprint. Third, a biometric recognition device. Fourth, a paper or a whiteboard that a user can write, sign, or draw on. Fifth, an automated teller machine that requires a token. A light that can be switched on or off. Then, a television or radio where channels can be selected. A staple that can be punched. A car that can be driven. A book that can be moved from one place to another. Any graphical password same, any real-life object, and any upcoming authentication scheme. Then, in 3D environment, the 3D environment affects the usability, effective acceptance of 3D password system. A 3D environment reflects the administration needs and the security requirements. Here are some design of 3D virtual environment should follow this guideline. There's a real-life similarity and the object uniqueness and detection, the 3D environment size, the number of objects and their types, and system importance. Those guidelines of 3D environment were in our mind are similar to follow what we see and what we know. Here's the advantages of 3D password. Flexibility, strength is to memorize aspect of privacy. So we have to think that how much our password and other authentication schemes are powerful to protect our data and our document from hackers. It is very easy for hackers to hack our data. There is different authentication scheme to provide security to our data like textual password, graphical password, biometric, but current authentication scheme are suffering from many weaknesses. 3D password authentication scheme is combination of recognition, recall, biometric. 3D password is more secure way of authentication and is more interesting way because it's present a virtual environment containing virus-based objects. For the application, the 3D password main application domains are protecting critical system and resources. First, critical servers. Second, nuclear reactors and military facilities. Third, airplanes and missile guiding. Those application of 3D application are more productive due of very accommodate and useful for us. Artificial passenger is a telematic device developed by IBM that interacts verbally with a driver to reduce the likelihood of them falling asleep at the control of vehicle. This was designed to make a solo journey safer and more bearable. Moreover, the IBM approach, an artificial passenger would use a microphone for the driver and speech generator and the vehicle audio speaker to converse with the driver. The conversation be based on personalized profile of a driver, and napaka-helpful din nito in many ways. Telematics device perform a range of functions by gathering vehicle location and activity data and turning this into a business insight. The overall system has a conversation planner that holds a profile of a driver, includes details of interest and profession. The telematic machine work by capturing vehicle location data via a GPS-enabled device installed in a vehicle. Aside from that, if your response is slow or doesn't make sense, the voice analyzer assumes you are dropping off and asks to get your attention. The artificial passenger may also be integrated with wireless service to provide a weather and road information, driving direction, and other such notification system. For example, if you reply quickly and clearly, the system guides you to be alert and tells the conversation planner to continue the line questionnaire. The voice analyzer then looks for signs of tiredness by checking to see if the answer matches your reply. If your slow response and lack of attention are signs of fatigue, they detect your symptoms. Here's the device used in artificial passenger. First, eye tracker. Collecting eye movement data requires both hardware and software. In hardware, head-mounted system or remote system. For both system measures the corneal reflection of the infrared lid, which illuminates and generates a reflection of the surface of the eye. This action causes the pupil to appear as a bright disk in contrast to surrounding iris and create a small glint underneath the pupil, which is used for calibration and tracking. For head-mounted system, use multiple data points to record eye movement and measure pupil glint for multiple angles. And for remote system, in contrast, measure the orientation of the eyes related to a fixed unit such as a camera. For software, data collection and analysis is handled by eye tracking software. Software catalog eye tracking is one of the two ways. In other data is stored as a series of X and Y coordinates related to specific grid points on the computer screen. Second, voice or speech recognizer. There are two ASRS used in the system. Speaker independent, B operate with voice, car media, and decodes tape, audio, telephone, mails. In natural language processor, the processes and decoded signals of voice or text data provided from the ASR, identify related meanings from the contents of decoded message, and produce variants of responses This output goes to the driver and analyzed as an output and input, wherein a driver analyzer receive the textual data and voice data and measure the time response using a clock. Then later on, time response conclusion about the driver alertness will be passed to the conversational planner. In conversational planner, it is the heart of the system. Instruct the language generator to produce the response. If the driver is in perfect condition, conversational planner instruct the language generator to continue the conversation. Otherwise, it will be instructed to change the conversation. For alarm, if the CP receive information that driver is about to fall asleep, the alarm system is activated. And for the microphone, for picking up words and separate them by some internally used software for conversation. Lastly, for the camera, this will track the lip movement of the driver, used to improve the accuracy of the speech recognition. In conclusion, a successful implementation of artificial passenger would allow use of various services in car like reading emails, navigation, downloading music files, voice games without compromising on driver safety. That's all for my report. Thank you for watching.
So, good day everyone. I am Gemma L. Pamorada of IT32, Group 8, and I'm going to discuss about nanomaterials and graphical password. So, nanomaterials are the chemical substance or materials that are manufactured and used at a very small scale. So, ang nanomaterials is a very small particles that has a 1 to 100 nanomaterials, and it also developed to exhibit novel characteristics compared to the same materials without nanoscale features such as increased strength, chemical reactivity, or conductivity. So, nanomaterials can occur naturally, be created as byproducts of combustion reactions, or be produced purposefully through engineering to perform a specialized function. So, nanomaterials have also been developed for use in military. So, one of the examples is that the use of mobile pigment nanoparticles being used to produce a better form of camouflage through injection of the particles into the materials of soldiers' uniform. So, as we can see, uh, hindi lang so hindi lang yung soldiers uniform ang camouflage. There's a lot of uh, kinds of damit ng na camouflage. Pwede din siyang panyo or shorts. Um, One of the example is that uh, small scales composed of nanoparticles is used to produce a better form of camouflage. So we have four types of nanomaterials. First is carbon-based nanomaterials, which is composed mostly of carbon. It is also commonly taking the form of a hollow spheres, ellipsoids, or tubes. Spherical and ellipsoidal carbon nanomaterials are referred to as fullerenes, while cylindrical ones are called nanotubes. Second is metal-based nanomaterials, which is include quantum dots, nanogold, nanosilver, and metal oxide. For example is that For example is titanium dioxide. So the power here is the chemical binding on or conjugated properties that metal-based nanoparticles offer. The power is found in the ability to multi-bond materials is to be joined chemically with antibodies or pharmaceuticals. So, third is dendrimers, which is the combination to create hollow cavities or use as part of catalysis. It also represents a half step between molecule chemistry and polymer chemistry. The creation or preparation of dendrimers is either via divergence or convergence. The surface of a dendrimer has numerous chain ends which can be tailored to perform specific chemical functions. Last is composites. It is a combination of nanoparticles and other material to form unique nanomaterials, then go into the creation of product. It is also remain orderly, but perhaps at a twisted level. These are not single or group of particles. They are individual of a population of particles with families, genus, and a ton of potential. So, these are the advantages of nanomaterials. First is high porosity, which gain increased demand for their use in a multitude of industry. Second is existing method of generating energy, such as solar panels, to be more efficient and cost effective. Third is increase in the accuracy of the construction of electronic circuit on the atomic level. Last is increase in the high likelihood of successfully combating various diseases. So these are the disadvantages of nanoparticles, not nanomaterials. First is this is not a large amount of information on the health and safety aspects of exposures to the material. So uh, possible to malagay sa delikado sa kalusugan ang mga ano niya, yung mga materials na ginagamit. It is possible na malagay sa mapanganib ang mga health natin. And it is could be considered to be inhalation exposure. Third is manufacturing process can often be complex and difficult. So mahirap daw yung prosesong pagdadaanan. Fourth is risk of ending up in a aquatic ecosystem after they wash off. So the next topic is graphical password, which was originally described by Blender in 1996. A graphical password is an authentication system that works by having the user select from images in a specific order represented in a graphical user interface or GUI. So for this reason, the graphical password approach is sometimes called graphical user authentication or GUA. So it can also use in the web login application like pag magla-login sa Moodle o kaya sa UDM website, sa portal, sa ah, ATM machine, which is yung mga password natin sa mga cards natin na sa ATM, and also mobile device kapag magla-login tayo sa Facebook, email, and etc. Graphical password is easier than a text-based password for most people to remember. It may offer better security than text-based password because many people, in an attempt to memorize text-based password, use plain words. So, it is more advisable if they use graphical password because it is easy to remember, and also some people forgot their password because it's too long and they forgot it, so they can use so for them they use graphical password. So there are types of graphical password. First is image sequence, which is graphical password that frequently require the user to select image in a particular order or response to image represented in a particular order. So, for example, you need to open my tablet. My password in my tablet is that the arrangement of our family. So, from my mom up to my youngest sister, that's the arrangement of my password so that I can open my tablet. So, image generated text is that each time the user is required to authenticate, they look for the image that fit their pre-chosen categories and enter the randomly generated alphanumeric character that appears in the image to form the one-time password. So, it's like that you need to uh, authenticate it first or verify it first before you open it. You just need to find image and choose if what category is this, and then you need uh, to open it by giving the name of those pictures. Third is facial recognition. So facial recognition is requires user to select a series of faces as a password, utilizing the human brain's ability to recall face easily. So the example in this facial recognition is that in my cell phone, I have here my password, which uh, recognize my face. It will not it will not hard for others to open it because my face is my password. So, para pag nananakaw siya, hindi siya basta-basta mabubuksan kasi yung face na naka-register sa cellphone ko is that my face, and hindi secured na secured siya kung yun ang at saka yung cellphone is may ability siya na ma-recall kung kaninong mukha yung ginagamit. Kapag hindi yung sa yung mukha, hindi siya mag-open basta-basta. So, 4 is draw a secret dash, which is a type of graphical password that requires the user to draw a picture over a grid. The user must exactly remember the user drawn gesture in order to be authenticated. So, on this type of graphical password, I think the best example is that if we use the pattern in a pattern password in our cell phone, also composed of you need to draw a pattern and then you need to remember it so that you can open it. Some gestures will be identified authenticated if it is the password. So there is advantages in graphical and graphical password. First is graphical password schemes provide a way of making more human-friendly passwords. So it is more human-friendly password and they can use it everywhere. So second is the security of the system is very high. So you don't need to worry about the security of your system or your device because it is highly secured and no one can open it easily. Third is this dictionary attack and brute forces search are invisible. So hindi siya basta ma-hack because naka-invisible yung mga virus na papasok or mga hackers na papasok. But there is a disadvantages. First is password registration and login process take too long. So it is difficult to the process in making register and also the login. So required much more storage space than text-based password. It is has a lot of space. It is kumakain siya ng malaking space doon sa ating mga memory kaysa doon sa text-based password. And last is surfing. As the name implies, shoulder surfing is watching over people's shoulder as they process information. So there's there's a there's a there's one there is one authority who can shoulder all the process information on this surfing shoulder. Kapag nag-input ng pangalan, mayroong isang parang issue shoulder or dadalhin niya lahat ng data na yun bago ma-process yung information na kailangan mo. So that's all. Thank you for listening.
Hello everyone, I'm Johnson. I'm a Fuentes, and my topic for today is holographic data storage and surface computing. What is a holographic data storage? Holographic data storage is a potential technology in the area of high-capacity data storage. Magnetic and optical data storage devices rely on individual bits being stored as distinct magnetic or optical changes on the surface of the recording medium. Holographic data storage records information throughout the volume of the medium and is capable of recording multiple images in the same area utilizing light at different angles. Holographic data storage contains information using an optical interference pattern within a thick, photosensitive optical material. Light from a single laser beam is divided into two or more separate optical patterns of dark and light pixels by adjusting the reference beam angle, wavelength, or media position. A multitude of holograms can be stored on a single volume. The Stored data is to read through the reproduction of the same reference beam used to create the hologram. The reference beam's light is focused on the photosensitive material, illuminating the appropriate interference pattern. The light diffracts of the interference pattern and object the pattern in the detector. The detector is capable of reading the data in parallel over 1 million bits at once, resulting in the fast data transfer rate. Files on the holographic drive can be accessed in less than 0.2 seconds. Holographic data storage can provide companies a method to preserve and archive information. The right one's read many or worm approach to data storage would ensure content security, preventing the information from being overwritten or modified. Manufacturers believe this technology can provide safe storage for content without degradation for more 50 years, far exceeding current data storage options. Counterpoints to this claim are that the evolution of data reader technology has, in the last couple of decades, changed every 10 years. If this stance continues, it therefore follows that being able to store data for 50 to 100 years in one format is irrelevant, because they would migrate the data to a new format after only 10 years. However, claimed longevity of storage has in the past proven to be a key indicator of shorter-term reliability of storage media. Current optical formats such as CD have largely lived up to the original longevity claims and have proved to be more reliable shorter-term data carriers than the floppy disk and DAT media displays. Like other media, holographic media is divided into write ones, where the storage medium undergoes some irreversible change, and rewritable media, where the change is reversible, and rewritable holographic storage can be achieved via the photorefractive effect in crystals. Mutually coherent light from two resources creates an interference pattern in the media. These two sources are called the reference beam and the signal beam. Where there is constructive interference, the light is bright and electrons can be promoted from the valence band to the conduction band for the material. Since the light has given the electrons energy to jump the energy gap, the positively the charge vacancies they leave are called holes or butas, and they must be immobile in writable holographic materials. Where there is destructive interference, there is less light, and few electrons are promoted. Electrons in the conduction band are free to move in the material. They will experience two opposing forces that determine how they move. The, the first force is the Coulomb force between the electrons and the positive holes that they have been promoted from. This force encourages the electrons to stay put or move back to where they came from. The second is the pseudo force of diffusion that encourages them to move to areas where electrons are less dense. If the Coulomb forces are not too strong, the electrons will move into the dark areas. Next is the surface computing. What is surface computing? It is a form of computing that others a natural way of with information rather that they interface is surface computing is a multi-touch technology that allows users to handle digital contents using natural motions using hands and physical things in a flat surface. Surface computing is a new approach of network with computer that replaces the traditional mouse and keyboard experience. NUI or Natural User Interface used in surface computing. It helps interaction with digital contents in the way how they interact with physical objects with hand gestures. Next is the features of surface computing. First is the direction interaction. Hands interacting with physical or physical gestures. The ability to grab digital information with hands interact with touch or gesture, not with mouse or keyboard. Next is the multi-touch. Recognize multiple points of contact at the same time. Multi-touch, the ability to recognize multiple points of contact at the same time, not just one. For example, one finger, like with most touch screens. But it not just once but dozens. For example, is one finger like with most touch screens. Next is the multi-user, allowing a collaborative computing experience. The Surface screen is horizontal, allowing many people to come together around it and experience a collaborative face-to-face computing experience. Next is the physical object recognition. Physical object can be placed on the Surface screen to trigger different types of digital responses. For example, cell phones, cameras, and glasses of wine. Next is the advantages of surface computing. First is works as an interface between human natural gestures and high hardware components. Second is to detect physical object using its camera. Third one is no need wires or USB ports to connect devices. Fourth is process are done in a natural way using an NUI so that time is saved. Next is the disadvantages. Incredibly expensive. First. Second is current design only in some areas. Need for dim lighting to avoid washing out the screen. Next. That's all. Thank you.